And I know how now. Spirit in us, oh, trying to break out. This is my time. Illuminate us, we make you shine. You're in in our DNA. I is our truth and we I'm a remission. I'm my permission. Be your light, let no man dim. See your sight is not original sin. I said you came in the same way that you go. And that's what love and this fight that can lead to the flow. Heard it up before, yes, what the man said. Held it in my heart, but I held it in my head. And my soul. I did this in the session, it's spiritual law. Love of circle and remember, Jah. So we love all circle and remember, Jah. Love all circle and remember, Jah. Hi. Hello, my sisters. Hi, everyone. Oh my God, it's so great to see your faces. I'm just putting on speaker view and scrolling through. Hi. Yay, we're all here together. It's always so special to be here. Shayna and I just got off a circle initiation call and it was really beautiful. And we talked about the alchemy of circle. And specifically, we spoke about breakthrough centered sharing and all of that kind of stuff, which will be a good thing for us to talk about some today. And I want to thank you for joining this call and this time and this incredible moment in history. It feels really important to be here all together. And so before we begin, let's do one of my favorite things to do at the beginning of a call. Let's do a shake. Can we do a shake? Shake our bodies. And let's shake until we start laughing. Like really shake until you start laughing.
Yeah.
Did we laugh? If you haven't laughed yet, you need to continue shaking. You need to shake harder. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and close our eyes. And let's settle in. Deepening our breath. Allowing ourselves to feel where we're rooted, where we're connected to the earth. Allowing our hearts to connect with our root, with the earth. And let's go ahead and breathe earth energy up through our bodies. Letting earth energy nourish us and ground us. And now let's connect with the celestial bodies. The sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, this beautiful full moon energy of Scorpio. And let's breathe the celestial body in to our bodies as well. This energy into our bodies. Feeling earth and heaven meet within us. Feeling the beauty of being a channel of where heaven and earth meet. We who are space holders, who care deeply about the women in our communities, about the earth, about humanity, We who have been called here for a purpose, each one of us, a leader, a teacher, a dancer, a devotee, a singer, whatever we are all here as sisters, a part of a larger movement taking place in the world, a movement of awakening and healing. Let us feel our connection in sisterhood now, in this circle of sisters. Let us feel our role and our place in this movement and in this sisterhood. And let's acknowledge ourselves for being here and for the work we're doing to hold space for others right now. And let's envision ourselves in a circle. And let's all create this space to be a safe space, a potent space, non-judgment, of confidentiality, of sisterhood. And let's imagine that we're holding hands with these women here on this call today, and with the women who are watching this call on replay. Let's imagine ourselves in circle with each other. What a blessing it is to come here and learn with each other, such wisdom that's on this call. And now together, let's tune in to the state of our planet. Our beautiful planet that has been through so much. And with all the shaking and with all the confusion and with all that's transforming, let's root ourselves in goodness. Let's root ourselves in a paradigm of well-being. That all is well. That we are infinitely powerful, knowledgeable, and protected. Words of Grandmother Flor de Mayo. We are all infinitely powerful, knowledgeable, and protected. And from our hearts and from the prayers of our hearts, we are guided. We are guided, we serve, we hold space, we grow, and we learn. And now connect with your why. Why do you do the work you do? Why do you want to lead women's circles? What brought you to this call today? What do you want to walk away with? And with that, we can gently come back to this room and open our eyes. Excuse me, my throat. I'm gonna take some water here. Hold on. Hello, so how are we doing? I wanna check in first with all of you because it's a lot that's been going on. How are we holding up? Anybody? Anybody wanna share? So how about, well, we'll share in just a second. Let me preface what this call is about. So I know that the women in our communities are seeking support. The women who are processing a lot of what's going on. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of grief. And we wanted to be able to provide this call today, this opportunity for us to connect about what's happening in our communities, what we're feeling, maybe what's going on in our circles, and also to share some tools about how we can create spaces where women can share specifically around what's happening during coronavirus for them, and have it be a space that's uplifting and a place that's healing rather than a place that's triggering, to share all the fears and concerns. And so we'll talk a little bit about trauma, and we'll talk a little bit about a template for how to lead a circle in a way that calls upon the women's infinite power, knowledge, and protection to help lift up the circle too. And so wanted to bring Shayna on if she wants to say hi and say hello.
Hi, it's so good to have you all here. So nice to see all your faces. If you guys want to put in the chat box where you're dialing in from, I love just seeing where we're all connected from. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it'd be really good to hear from all of you today, or whoever feels inspired to share. And I think Lauren will open it back up in a little bit around what's coming up for you personally, but also what's coming up in your circle, and kind of just feeling into the collective energy of this movement. And if you've been holding circles right now, if you are, how's it been going? And then if you haven't been, why not? And yeah, kind of what's been coming up for you around that. So.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I want to ask primarily, open up for shares, and ask primarily, how are you doing with the idea of I am infinitely powerful, knowledgeable, and protected? And that general state of well-being, like as a paradigm, like even as the world shakes, I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. Is that something that is vibrating as true for you? So share about that a little bit as well. But let's go ahead and just bring some people on and say hi, where you're facilitating from, what's going on with you and your circle. So we can bring on like 5 or 6 women just to set the tone, and then we'll dive in. Okay. So please go ahead.
Kelly. Kelly's just raising her hand.
Hey everyone, I'm coming from London, Ontario, Canada, and I actually just held a circle on Wednesday night. So I've been doing circles about every 2 weeks, and really focusing on like movement and connection, setting intentions with the new moon and then the full moon. I did do a fire release, and so of course a lot of fear came up, but we did a lot of supporting after. So we it's interesting though, sometimes on the Zoom calls, not a lot of people want to talk. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to connect sometimes like that. And the chat doesn't always provide, as much of a connection as in circle. So it's always so different, the energy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for me, it's been a roller coaster. I also have 2 young girls at home, so it's not the same having my space for myself to do treatments and that kind of thing. So yeah, we've just been trying to keep the vibration as high as we can, and yeah.
Wow.
But thank you for holding space today.
And thank you for holding space with your 2 girls at home every 2 weeks. That's awesome. Thank you. How big is your circle?
22 people the last time, and it was really neat because, well, with it being online, I had a woman from Tijuana, one from DC, one so yeah, it's been really neat having like across the globe, so that's been really special. But yeah, usually I do a lot of movement in the circle, and we do some really like primal dance and that kind of thing. So it's different being on camera. Not everybody wants to do that with their family around, or their partner in the other room, or sounds and that kind of stuff. So
especially with emotional release, it's different. Yeah, we can talk about that. That's great. Thank you for bringing that here.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Zazel, show us your face.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yeah.
I'm not going to show my face because I'm still in bed and I'm a hot mess right now.
But I want to see that. That would be so awesome to see.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. So I'm still in bed, hot mess, yay. So I'm in Olympia, Washington, and I've been facilitating circles now for a year. And my circle has been small, 4 to 5 people, but hold on, go over there. These 4 to 5 women have been coming for the last year. So it's been interesting to hold the circle with, excuse my cat, she needs attention right now.
This is the second cat interference we've had today. It's great.
It's been very interesting because we know each other and we're very familiar with the path that each of us is on. And so what I've actually done the last 2 circles that I've done virtually was to let them know up front that for the next 2 hours, like, this is their time. For it, just their time to kind of like, don't worry about what's going on in the outside world. Don't worry about what's going on. Like if you're in a room or in your bathroom or wherever, just focus on you right now. And I think I've given it a really cool little twist because I'm trying to focus my circles more on them, of where they're at in their path, and trying to encourage them to continue regardless of what's going on in the world. So I haven't really been tying my circle at all to the current state of the world, rather focusing on their inner journeys and how they can continue to go despite the world being crazy. You asked a very interesting question, Lauren, like, how are you feeling? How are you handling all of this? And for me personally, it's crazy to say that I feel like life has prepared me for a moment that for the current world affairs that we're living all right now. I've dealt with grief and loss my entire life. And it's crazy to feel for the first time in my 33 years of life that I have such security and such stability. And though there is a little bit of fear, the fear that I'm feeling, it's not my own. It's like I can sense everybody else's fear, like the fear of the collective, and that does get me sometimes. But I have the tools to ground myself. And that's kind of what I'm using to help the women in my circle to stay connected with themselves, ground themselves. I guide them through a meditation that kind of like gets them through their whole body, kind of get in touch with themselves, deep breathing. And it's been incredible to watch in these last 2 circles how the women, they're opening up. Like they're so open, they're so vulnerable. They're growing. And that is just a majestic thing to watch. And it's such an honor for us who are holding space for other women to be able to hold that space for them, be that guide for them, and learn from them. Because I think that's also what I've been learning a lot from the women in my circle, the last 2 virtual circles that I've held. A lot. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And you look beautiful. You don't look like a hot mess. That was a beautiful share.
Thank you.
And that's really the value of a small circle that continues. I know that's not everybody's situation. That's a really beautiful, beautiful share. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jackie, do you want to come on? I'm so glad you're here, Jackie. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it.
Hi, darling. Yeah, me neither. My call got moved to beforehand, so everything got rearranged. So it was quite serendipitous. I'm glad to be here. It's lovely.
Thank you.
So yeah, what's been happening for me? So I'm in UK. I've been facilitating circles for, I think it's 2 years with you guys now, coming up for 2 years. My in-person circle, I've got about 20 women that have attended before and are in the Facebook group. And I average anywhere between 8 and 12 that attend in person. We've switched online for the last 2 circles, and I've averaged about 13, 14, but some of those have been, again, other women from other places in the globe who've been in circle with me before and are just really excited that it's online and they can actually join in again. So that's been really lovely. And a couple of people have said, oh, I'll bring my friend in and my friend will come. So yeah, it's been beautiful. And again, a bit like Zaza just said, because we all know each other and we've been circling so long with each other, the transition to online hasn't been difficult at all for them, and they've all been so grateful for that opportunity to still feel that connected, and I've been grateful to be able to provide that for them. I think the first circle we did, we've stuck with the topics of the HerCIRCLE resources. The first circle I did, there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of stuff coming up about the coronavirus, so it was very intense, and we did a whole load of energy exercises at the beginning of the call to release the fight or flight. We did grounding in, right, really grounding into the body, and the first circle was about boundaries anyway, so that was really interesting. We kind of honed it in, not just to boundaries, personal boundaries, but boundaries about how to deal with the coronavirus, so that was beautiful. And the next one is going to be online as well, so yeah, it's been a really positive experience, and really good for everybody all around, so it's been fantastic.
And how are you holding up with all the energy?
How am I energetically wise? I'm tired. I'm so tired. But again, I'm quite empathic, so I really feel the energy of others. I really feel things collectively. My husband has been working as a military volunteer, working with the funeral services. So that's been a huge initiation for us, because obviously his work has dropped financially. He's been doing this voluntarily. It's a big initiation for us as a couple anyway, and it's a big initiation for him, for a situation for him to be in. So we've been quite acutely tuned to the death doula side of things. Wow. And the energy of holding that energy for others. Yeah, so that's been quite intense. But again, a bit like Zazo just said, my life has prepared me for this. I mean, I had a breakdown 10 odd years ago that kind of reduced my life to having to learn how to be in a different bubble. So I'm used to walking every day. I'm used to not a large amount of integration with people on a daily basis. And because of my empath abilities, I have to monitor how often I tune into other people anyway. So it's almost been like okay, so we're still doing the same thing, just slightly differently. I went out to the supermarket for the first time in about 4 weeks the other day, and that was bizarre, really bizarre. I felt very disorientated because I hadn't been out in public, and it was very strange to be in that situation. Yeah, in general, things are okay, and
I since we're talking about being an empath, I want to ask you, what's your most powerful empathic tool that you use that seems to help you the most? I feel like that would be a great thing to share.
In Circle or just in general?
In general.
Because I feel empathy in my body. I really feel the empathy in my body. I can tune into the energy of a situation almost immediately. And some of the skills that I've been working on over the last 6 or 7 years in my priestess practice is how to ground that in and ground that through and really hold it and let it move through the body, either in circle or okay, so this is happening, I'm feeling this energy coming in, I'm going to welcome it rather than, oh, I don't want it. I'm going to welcome it, I'm going to let it move through me, and I'm going to let it move out.
Because when you don't want it, it gets stuck.
It does, yeah, it gets stuck in your system, or you end up kind of trying to hold on to it, and it's to just stand in it and be able to kind of wave through it. And that's been it's something that I really teach in my circle with dance and with movement practices, and how to move through the music and use that wave to kind of ride the wave of the energy. And it's beautiful. It's been a beautiful learning curve for me, and a beautiful gift to the women that I serve. So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So glad to hear.
Lovely to be with you again.
I know.
Okay, Sherry. Also, I wanted to say, with all these movement practice circles, you guys have to come on and show us some of your moves.
You do. Yeah.
Hey guys. I've been finding myself saying that I like like the quarantine, but I'm careful where I say it. Yeah. It's been emotional for me, not from the quarantine, but because of just being a mom. My 2 college boys are home, and my one finished his freshman year of college yesterday in the kitchen, and the other one is going to graduate in the kitchen tomorrow. So it's been watching them really gut it out has been difficult for me because there's nothing I can do for them. It's just, I love you, I'm cheering for you, and you know, just watching them get through it. But I'm really proud of how they've handled it. I try to stay, for me it goes in waves. You know, I look at the news and I look at the stuff and have so many friends of so many different ethnicities watching the things that are going on with our administration and this shooting in Georgia and just all these different things. It's just, that's the part also as an empath that just rips my heart out and just gets every hackle going up. And then I come back to my tree and my circle. And we've been circling every 2 weeks we've been circling, which is unusual, but because of this, the women in my group, were, you know, please don't make us wait a month for a circle. So we've been doing full moon circles and new moon circles, and that's been really great. There's about 50 or 60 women in our group, and we get somewhere between, you know, 4 and 12 on a Zoom call. And it's been really, what's been really nice is that we have, because I live in Orlando, we get people come here all the time and to visit, you know, come to the theme parks or whatever. So we would have people that would come here and they would happen to be visiting our home when there was a live circle, and then they would leave and go back to where they came from, and they'd say, but how do I stay connected to that? So with this, we've been having people from all over coming into our circles, which has been really, really nice. Also a blessing is this community, some of the women here that have reached out from HerCIRCLE and Circle Initiation say, hey, can we come to your circle? Beth came to my circle. Some of the other women have asked to come to our circle, which has been really, I'm very, very honored for that. But I think this has just been a really remarkable time for self-reflection and growth for those of us who will allow that process. And I think we are allowing that process. I think, you know, more and more people out there are getting the idea that there's something bigger going on. And then I look at, you know, all the other, and I don't ever want to be, I try not to be negative, but I look at other people who are still in this place, and that, you know, like they opened the beaches in Miami, now they're closed again. And, you know, just because people are stupid and the grocery stores are full, and you know, we have to stay in our lane, but try to expand our light so that other people can get touched by it. And I think that's really where, you know, so I'd like to sleep better. I'm tired, but I'd like to sleep better. I'd like my body to stop hurting. But I know that that's absorption, and I'm just trying to, but otherwise, other than that, this has been a mostly happy time. Once we got past the initial shock and grief, this has been a mostly happy time for us. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you, Sherry. Do we have any more shares?
It was, now I'm going to call Sherry with a C.
Okay, great.
Hear me?
Come on in to the center of the circle.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey.
Okay. Hey. Hi. So I've been doing circles for about, I'm going to say 3 years. I have a small group, probably between 3 and 7 people that, you know, I have like 20 people say they're coming and then 4 show up kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But the people that need to be there come. I do have an issue with once spring and summer hit, there's nobody. Everybody's doing stuff on vacation at the lake. It doesn't fit into anybody's kind of lifestyle. So I'm hoping maybe that this online thing will maybe be a little bit easier for some people to continue to have it go. As far as myself, I had an injury at work the end of January. I hit my head. And so I have been kind of in my own quarantine isolation since the end of January. So when this hit, I was all practiced up to just be in my nice, quiet little bubble. It took a couple of months for me to get, you know, a little bit more able to do screen time and stuff. So I'm really kind of feeling that this is a time for me to peel the layers off of all of the stress and anxiety and working full time and teaching yoga half time and being a grandma and a mom and a, you know, like all of that stuff, just building and all these people that you have to be in a day. I've kind of been able to, I don't know, become a little bit of a hermit and spend time working on like the information from the circles. And I'm doing some shamanic healing and some other different things that I can share with my ladies. I agree with some of the other ladies that have spoken about the virus itself and about how people are, you know, there's the panic and the fear. And I think it's super important right now to be able to have this platform to bring people in and remind them that they are powerful and that they are knowledgeable and that they are, you know, okay, and they don't have to own all of that stuff. And it's really difficult sometimes to not take it all in. I don't watch the news because, you know, la la la, don't want to know. And maybe that's, some people might think that's kind of dumb, but I just think that, you know, attention goes where energy flows. So having a positive, peaceful, what's important in my circle, what can I do to help myself so I can help other people? That's kind of a bigger picture for me than CNN or whatever. I just, like I said, I guess I kind of have a little question in there about, so I've got these women and they all want to come, and then just another way to kind of draw them, you know, like I said, 20 people say they're coming and 3 show up.
Right.
Like I've tried different things, you know, and I just don't know.
This is virtually three.
No, actually, this is like actually physically. I'm thinking that the virtually thing might help a bit.
Yeah, especially right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you haven't led a circle yet. So maybe the new moon could be a good try.
Yeah, I've got my girls in my little group that I invited them all to grandmother Mayo's talk yesterday. Some of them couldn't get on, some of them did. So I'm just kind of going to continue with that, and hopefully it goes well. But I'm very grateful to have this, and I've been kind of out of the picture for a while, but I'm back.
Hey, welcome back, babe. It's great to talk with you and see you and get to know you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about, was anybody else on grandmother Mayo's call yesterday? So it was amazing because she was in a windstorm in the middle of rural New Mexico, and the connection was just really poor. But she just channeled this beautiful, powerful message, one that just struck the heart, really, truly. And we can send you the recording if you want it.
In the chat.
Okay, we'll put
But
it.
you should listen and not watch because of the recording. It's choppy, but the transmission is amazing.
It's really amazing.
So just don't go for the visuals.
Right. And we had about 300 women on Zoom, which was also beautiful. And I want to share that we've been leading our virtual circles on the full moon and new moon as well lately. And we've had hundreds of women attend. And it's been really powerful because right now, especially like what the general tone is of this feeling is of all of us is that right now people need connection more than ever. People need to process more than ever. We need sisterhood more than ever. We need tools, spiritual tools more than ever. We need to remember our what I'm trying to say, I guess, here is to remember the deeper purpose of why we're here as a human race and how each one of us has a role to play in that. And so to your question, Sherry, I think in order to call the women forth is to frame it in that, and to bring the women forth so that we can practice, we can reevaluate, we can heal. And I've noticed, this is like a marketing tip, if you want to have women come to your circles, it's also important to call out what's like, connect with current events why it's important for this circle. So no matter what theme it is, connecting it to why this is an important theme for this moment and how it's connected to the greater whole. And in our HerCIRCLE resources, we talk about how it's connected. But so let's talk about trauma for a second. So first of all, I'm going to jam with all of you that I also feel like I've been preparing for this time for a long time. And I'm careful about who I say that to, but I feel like I've been waiting for this. Like I've been waiting for something to happen. Today, does anybody know who Lizzo is, the artist Lizzo? Love Lizzo. And anyway, she had a beautiful Instagram live today. And she said, we always talk about the system is breaking, the system is broken, the system is broken. The system isn't broken because the system is still favoring white supremacy, favoring like all the broken stuff, the financial system, all the stuff. The system isn't broken, but it's not working. We need to break it.
Well, so the system isn't broken. It's working as designed.
As designed.
As it was designed by the people that it's now benefiting.
Yes. Well said. And now we need to break it. And for me, I feel like this time is the system breaking. It's breaking. And for all of us who have been awake and who have been on this journey, it's been like, okay, some movement. And I don't know about you, but I had a hard time feeling like I could keep up. My body was exhausted. My emotions were taxed. And now I feel like we're in this moment where people are listening at least a lot more. And they're looking in at least a lot more. And what we have is this opportunity to facilitate something where they can really, really look in. And that's amazing. That's such a gift. And it's a feminine gift we can offer because it's a space where it's safe to actually share. And it's a safe where it's space for all of us to release and emote. And so I want to have this circle be about how we can safely really get to the depths of the feelings without it being a bunch of venting. And then again, like I said, re-triggering and having women feel like less hopeless, right? So this is a balance that, or more hopeless, feeling more hopeless. So this is a balance that is a study for us at Global Sisterhood because we like to take women deep. Has anybody ever been in a process with us or sat in a circle with us anyway? Has it been a deep one? Has anybody ever gone deep with us? Okay, so we like to go deep. And I was saying in this call earlier today that one time I led a circle. I went deep. It was like almost experiential for me. I was like, oh dear, I don't know if I'm bringing these women back. Too deep. They're just going to be depressed. They're going to hate me. They're never going to want to sit in circle with me again. And I've actually been in places where I'm just like, oh no, it's too deep. It's too heavy. So I've learned a lot from that. I've learned a lot from that moment. And I want to teach you about what I've learned humbly and share with you tools. And so I come from trauma. I have everything that I feel is my superpower comes from healing of my personal trauma. I believe that we are here living in a world and we have these painful events to help shape us. We have this duality to shape us, and we get to use it as an opportunity for growth. And often, a lot of these painful events get registered in our brain and body as trauma. And then we have this trauma looping around, waiting for a trigger. Our trauma wants to be triggered. Our trauma wants to come to the surface and it wants to freak out because it wants an opportunity to integrate in a healthy way. So when we get triggered, it's because something is happening in our world that's connected to something that's happened before. That something that was happened before that never got properly integrated into our system. So right now in our world, a lot of things are being triggered. Traumas that are just around well-being, safety. A lot of traumas around safety, especially traumas that happen in our formative years. It's around being safe to use our voice, safe to be in our bodies as women, safe to survive. All of those are traumas that are coming up for the collective right now. And more so, a different, more subtle type of trauma, a trauma that traumas that people don't even register as traumas. It's like in our common lexicon and the way we communicate, we think of traumas as these like really big events of like big car accidents, big sicknesses, deaths, abuses. We think these big massive events that clearly sound on paper to be traumatic. But the truth is, these kinds of events, one person can have the right support. So let's say there's a horrible car accident. That can become trauma and PTSD, right? That can register as PTSD in someone's body. But let's say that there's two people who are in a very similar accident and they're at the similar age. Let's say they're 8 years old and they're in the back seat of the car. They're with their parents and they're driving. Both of those kids can get in a very similar accident, and one kid could register as trauma. And I'm going to tell you why that is. So we have an amazing neurochemical and nervous system. It's amazing. It's profound. But I won't get into the details of that just yet. But basically, the key to not having trauma is healthy integration, human support. So let's take the example of kid A. Kid A is in a car and they get in the car accident, and then they get out of the car accident and the parents look at him and then look at each other. They get out of the car and they hold him, and they're in shock mode too, but they're holding him. Then some people from across the street come and they're calm and grounded, and all of them go into fight or flight, right? Because that's what happens when you face danger. Your system goes into fight, flight, or freeze, right? So they're in fight or flight, or maybe the kid is in freeze, right? Maybe the kid doesn't know what to do, but mom and dad are in fight or flight. When that happens, your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for processing complex things, language, what am I trying to say? Language, or processing scenarios, like storytelling, all of this stuff is about the prefrontal cortex. And so that turns off completely when you go into fight, flight, or freeze. You go in complete limbic system. And that limbic system is what is in charge of getting you to survive, right? And so they're in that state. Humans come by, right? They help, they make the situation a little bit easier. Eventually, mom and dad, they come out from the limbic state, and they go out from their sympathetic nervous system, and they go back into a more parasympathetic state. Everything calms, and then they're able to process what happened. And then when they're able to process what happened, they're able to tell a narrative. Well, that guy wasn't there, but thank God we're safe. All of this happened. We're okay. Thank God our little one's happy. They're able to tell an empowering story. And when they can tell an empowering story, then they can then support the kid. And they can support the kid by helping the kid process what happened. The kid then can tell an empowering narrative about the story. Mom and dad were driving, an accident happened, but cars are generally are safe. My parents are safe. I'm safe if I wear a seatbelt. I'm okay. I didn't get hurt. I will survive. Empowering story. And once that empowering story gets brought into the system, this system doesn't register the event as trauma. Let's take another event, another case, and when they get in a car accident, the parents start yelling at each other. They're in just panic mode, and they start yelling at each other, and the kid's in the background watching his parents like have a fight, and he doesn't know what's going on. And then the person who got in a wreck with them comes and starts yelling at them. And there's just all this like anger and whatever happens. And then some people come, but it's disorganized, and the situation is very different. And that kid goes home that night, and his parents they support him a little bit, but not really. And that kind of event can lead to trauma in that little boy's system. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so it's really about the story we're telling ourselves. And the thing, it's not just from the mind. Once we have trauma registered in our bodies, that trauma lives in our bodies through the chemicals we release. There's like a loop, a trauma loop that happens. So until it's integrated as an empowering story, it's always looping, looking for a trigger. So that trigger could be anything. It could be anything, and it could really evoke a lot of emotions or chemicals, or it could also make us freak out or get mad at somebody. And so right now I tell you that because that's happening on so many levels for so many people. And whether or not people think they have trauma, often we have trauma simply by being alive, simply being alive in a system and in a world that's not fully in balance, that's not fully conscious, that's belittled women, that has belittled different ethnicities, different religions. You know, this type of cultural trauma is a subtle trauma too. And there's also trauma from being disconnected from the earth, not having our roots connected to the earth, not feeling the nature as a living, breathing being, and feeling disconnected or domesticated, right? There's also trauma and feeling like the earth is dangerous and we can't survive on the earth, but we need these perfectly clean homes to survive. There's also some kind of trauma in that as well. Does anybody have any questions on that before I move forward, or any comments? Is anybody here a psychologist or a student of this that wants to share or anything like that? Yes, go ahead, Claire.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I work with people who have experienced trauma in my job, and so I absolutely agree with everything you said, Lauren, and I just, if I may, I'd like to add to that a little bit.
Please.
So many people have heard of complex PTSD, and this, you know, is not exactly accepted by the whole medical profession, but, you know, to that, because what we also know about how trauma can affect people is that if you grew up in a family where you were not nurtured emotionally, that creates a stressful situation for a child. If that goes on for a period of time, so if you lived in a family like that for years, you grew up in a family where you didn't feel nurtured, that actually creates a situation of trauma. Mm-hmm. The same effects as trauma that happen from a you know, a sudden shock. And so, you know, if you add that to, you know, if you put that into the experience of people in the world today, you know, just about everybody has had, you know, the percentage of people who grow up in a functional household where, you know, children are loved and nurtured and encouraged and made to feel that they're, you know, valued and important and express your emotions and, you know, unconditionally loved. That's a quite a small percentage of the people who are around. So, so many people, you know, just through going through life, may be triggered by, you know, people yelling next door can trigger people because that was something that they experienced as a child. You know, someone looking at you a certain way can trigger you. Someone, you know, then the way the brain lays down memories is using our 5 senses. So, you know, what's happening at the time that the trauma is we're, you know, we're taking in information through our senses. So we're registering what we see, what we hear, what we can feel, what we can smell, what we can, you know, taste or whatever, you know. So the way that triggers then happen is someone can brush up against you in a certain way, and all of a sudden you're like, you know, someone can look at you a certain way and with a certain, you know, look in their face, and that can trigger you. You can see a certain color or a car, or, you know, you can be triggered in some, and then there are secondary triggers as well. And so people are being triggered all over the place at the moment because And I think it's partly because, you know, we are being made to, we've got less distractions than we normally would have. So we are, you know, we are kind of being forced to sit with ourselves a bit more. So things are coming up. And the good thing, the good news about all that, because it's can be quite overwhelming, but the good news about all that is that those responses are learned, and they can be, when we become aware of them, they can be unlearned, and we can infuse healing into those situations and help people to manage their reactions when they are triggered, and offer, you know, offer support and help in that way. And that's what you were, you know, talking about. But yeah, thank you for bringing up trauma, because I think it's absolutely relevant right now.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you. So let's, yeah, Sherry.
Can I add something to that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed in our circle. We have several therapists, and they have been urging us to move away from the D in PTSD, because that word disorder, that there's not something wrong with you because you have had trauma, and they're using it as PTS and not PTSD, because it that last initial that has that part that beats us up. And so that was just something I wanted to throw out there, that we're seeing that shift in the work that we're doing. And I like it. It resonates in, you know, that we've all had trauma. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with us. So I just thought I'd share that.
That's
I
great.
love that. I used to run a community at the corporation I worked for, but it was for people that had disabilities, but I renamed it for abilities, like different abilities, because it's like we all have different abilities. And yeah, so thank you for sharing that, because I think that's really powerful.
And I know that Sarah has this experience she wants to share, so I'm going to bring her on in just a second. I wanted to move into a new chapter. So how do we lead our circles with this in mind, right? How do we hold space in our circles for this? So if we want to go deep, if we want to share, things can get brought up. And then have you ever noticed that when a woman is sharing, it can trigger another woman? Has that ever happened? Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about, and if you have been a member of Circle Initiation, you've been certified by us, you know about this, but I want to bring this up again. It's called breakthrough centered sharing. And so basically I'm going to go through an outline of how we could lead a circle. So basically you can open up your circle. You can say, today we're gonna speak about what's going on in the world, and we're gonna share about how we're feeling, and we're gonna do a few exercises, or preface it however you want. And then you can set some guidelines, of course, of this is a safe space, this is a confidential space. And then you can say, and I'm gonna invite us to share in a special way today. We're gonna share in a style that's called breakthrough centered sharing. And then you can model breakthrough centered sharing. So I'm gonna explain it to you. There's venting. There's just speaking without ownership of our feelings, right? That's what venting is. Speaking without ownership of our feelings. And breakthrough centered sharing is creating the container around our share that's empowering. I am the owner of my feelings. I am the owner of my feelings, and I understand inherently that there's goodness in the universe, that there's an intelligence to life. And even though I'm suffering right now, and I'm going to share what I'm suffering, I know that my suffering is here to teach me something. And I'm going to look for what it is that it's trying to teach me. And then I'm going to speak that as well. And I'm going to end it with a gratitude. So I'm going to give you an example. And feel in your body the difference between what I'm going to say. So my sister, this is a true story. I'm going to tell a true story. So my sister got mad at me yesterday. She sent me this text, and I got really triggered. And I feel like she could, and I'm going to say some things about my sister that were on my mind, but I'm not going to actually say them. But I feel like she is X, she is Y, she is Z, and I feel really hurt right now that she would say that to me. That's that. That's venting. Feel how that is in your body. My sister did this. She did this. She was mad at me because I did this, but like, oh my gosh, didn't she realize that she did this and this? Venting. It happens in circles, you know, and sometimes venting is natural. We just need someone to vent too. But in breakthrough and centered sharing is more empowering for the person sharing. So I would share something along the lines of, so my sister got upset with me yesterday because she felt like I wasn't showing up for my niece in a way that she had hoped, and she didn't really communicate that with me. And what I realized about it was that I have this pattern or this trauma about being judged when I'm trying to do good, and being misunderstood when I'm trying to do good. And that really brought me into a place of needing to look at this need to please and where that comes from. So I'm really learning to, of course, know that I want to do good and I want to help people, but also own what's true for me. And I'm really grateful that we had this little misunderstanding, because now I'm actually feeling closer with my niece because it helped me connect more with my niece. See the difference? It's a big difference. And it's cool to help model that in our circles, to help our circles at any time, but also to really help with the sharing around these times. So what's so special about this time? There's a lot of special things about this time. And what's really special is that it's asking for all of us to find a deeper sense of truth. What is true? What is the truth of being here? What is the purpose why am I here? What's the greater essence of why I'm here? And so to fuse your circle with both the like calling upon the wisdom and spiritual guidance that's within each woman's heart, as well as the processing of how women are doing on the day-to-day. So maybe start with some processing and then be like, now what's the wisdom that's here? What are we learning? What are the potentials? What's the possibility? How do we go forward? So both the opportunity for just sharing where we are authentically, and also calling upon the wisdom within each woman to envision and share what she's receiving, her guidance that she's receiving. Because aren't we all receiving some wisdom right now? We're all receiving some guidance. And so to hold a circle where we're calling upon that wisdom is really, really powerful. So for instance, an exercise that's really great to do, and we did it on one of our circles, is guiding the women through a meditation and asking the women to tune in to their spiritual connection, asking the women to tune in to what it is that they're connected to, whether it's the Divine Mother, whether it's Earth, whether it's love, whether it's the universe, and really invite the women to feel that presence. And then from that presence, begin to dialogue with that presence, asking that spiritual presence, what wisdom do you have about these times for me? What do you want me to understand about these times, the nature of these times? And then you can invite the women to do a stream of consciousness writing exercise, where they receive this download of information from their own hearts, from the divine within them, from their own internal wisdom, and from the magic of life all around them. And they write what they feel this time is about and what the potential of this time can be. And then you share there. You have women share about what they see the potential is. So you can have a conversation, and that's really powerful because you're calling upon higher wisdom, and it's channeled through everyone's different experience and different perspectives, and that the circle gets enriched with such juiciness of potential and possibility. Shayna, do you have anything you want to add about that? No.
I mean, it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest part, and it's good to practice doing that too.
So I have a
All of
question.
your lovely times we're together with other humans. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So one of the things that I felt was so transformative about the circles that we did in initiation was the experience of being in circle with other people and allowing my truth to come out. And that was very emotional for me, you know. And so on one hand, I want to really encourage people's vulnerability in the group. And so, because some of these people in my group, and it's very new and it's fresh, and so I'm learning, and I appreciate this. But some of the people I knew in high school, back in high school, and that was 40 years ago. And I don't really know them now, you know. But anyway, so there's kind of like a need or a way to, what am I trying to say? We've been doing this the same way for a long time. And so there are really ingrained ways of viewing ourselves and judging ourselves. And breaking through that requires, I think, some vulnerability. So I'm trying to find, you know, do you encourage that, or do you just, and that work I feel like has to be done in ceremony and with spirit. But, you know, how do you
encourage vulnerability? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the way we encourage it is by modeling it, right? So, and we can model vulnerability in a breakthrough centered sharing model, right? Because that's actually true vulnerability to really own your own experience, even though not in a blaming way, but to be like, this happened to me, this is what I'm experiencing, this is mine. And I always heard you speak about something you are grateful or something you were learning. There was always a reflective process. And that's also vulnerable, to speak about what you're seeing about yourself. And so this is something that obviously doesn't have to happen every time. You don't have to, if you don't feel comfortable with your circle, say, we're going to speak like this. And you might just want to let people speak from their hearts. But what you might find is if it's an edgy topic or a charged topic, and women start to be venting a lot, you can suggest a new model but what you could also do is just demonstrate how to share yourself. So always share first, potentially.
I appreciate it. I'm also really understanding why you do the stick, why one at a time, and why you don't fix, because I'm having these experiences that are showing me these things, and so I appreciate it.
Women wanting to give each other. So what there's a tendency.
Oh yeah, fix things.
Yeah. There's a tendency to
make people feel better.
Totally. When somebody's suffering and she's having a raw experience, it's easy to be like, oh no, she's having a raw experience. Oh, she's expressing anger. Oh, she's expressing deep sadness. That makes me uncomfortable. So I'm going to be like, don't cry, sister. Feel better. It's okay. Yeah. You've got so much strength. And by the way, have you done this? You might not want to do this because that will help. There's a tendency to want to do that so we don't have to feel what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why creating this space and these containers and these guidelines, and really allowing for and feeling with your own empathy, your own intuitive guidance. Okay, this is getting a little too venty. We're gonna shift this towards like, how can we own our experience? And then there's gonna be one more thing I'm gonna say before. Jackie, are you gonna come on and demonstrate some moves for us? Is that what you're gonna do today?
Yep, sure.
Okay, great. So I'm going to talk about one more thing about facilitator presence. So this is something that I've been learning through studying trauma and helping facilitate spaces that are healing for trauma. And I really love these guidelines, and I want to add it to our global sisterhood training at some point. But you know how they say, you've probably heard this, that when a therapist gets too invested in somebody feeling better, that they're compromised. It's not a healthy relationship anymore. Well, it's also in some ways the same way for what our sister circles what our sisters are experiencing in our sister circles. So while they are our sisters, they're our friends, we also, when we're holding space for somebody, there's 4 essential truths that can really help us hold powerful space without getting too invested, because my heartstrings can get really pulled in. I can be like, oh, I feel so bad. I want to make her feel better, especially if I'm facilitating a circle and a trigger happens or an emotion happens. Like, I want to be like, oh no, I did that. I need to fix that. But really, there's some 4 truths, and I want to write them. I'll have you write them down if you want. So the first one is in this truth, and let me preface what the truths are. The truths create up a reality. So these 4 truths are truths that we subscribe to as reality, as the truths of reality. So these 4 truths make up a paradigm. And it's like a worldview that we can adopt that helps us actually hold better space for people and for ourselves. And it's just a really beautiful worldview. And so the number 1 truth is that there is basic goodness in existence. It's called well-being. Well-being exists in everything and everywhere. There is a basic goodness to existence. There's basic goodness to ourselves. There's basic goodness in the person who's talking. There's universal intelligence. There's love. There's harmony. And there's the belief that we live in an abundantly good and generous universe. This is just an inherent belief. And there's things within the well-being paradigm that don't feel healthy, but in general, there's general well-being in the universe. And if we have an opportunity, we want to shift into well-being, and we will shift into well-being. So the second truth is that we are all connected. And it means exactly what it sounds like, that we belong to everything and everything belongs to us. We are connected to each other. We are impacted by each other. There's just this inherent connection. There's not one thing that happens to another person that isn't connected to us somehow. There's not one thing that a person does that isn't somehow connected to us. We are not better. We are not worse. We are all equal and connected. And number 3 is that we have infinite power. So we belong to everything and everything belongs to us again. Power of the environment and power of individuals will impact the other. So this is also back to what Flor de Mayo said. Within us is infinite power, knowledge, and protection. There's infinite power that we can tap into. So for instance, when somebody is going through something and they're expressing something very challenging, or you're experiencing something challenging, it's sometimes easy to feel helpless, right? To feel like, oh, I can't help this person, or oh, I can't help this situation. But to trust in the infinite power is to trust in possibility, and trust that every single person, no matter how hard their life may be, they have the power to transform their lives. So trusting in the infinite power in everybody and in everything. And the 4th truth is that all feelings are good. All the scary feelings, all the rageful feelings, all the darkness, all the sadness, all of that stuff is good. We want to feel this stuff. We live in a dualistic reality. We have things we like, we have things we don't like. And the things we don't like help shape us. So all the feelings are good. And so if somebody's expressing really hard emotions, it's important to remember, this is good. This is good. They're expressing difficult emotions. This is good. Not wanting that impulse to make it stop, to only have them feel the light and fluffy feelings. And so when we can hold those 4 essential truths as our worldview, as a facilitator, we're going to stay in our center a lot more easily. We're going to stay connected. We're going to stay in our center, and we're going to be able to feel the energy without getting wrapped up and getting our ego caught up in how are they feeling? Am I doing a good job? I don't want them to feel bad, but to really just help us stay clear and help us guide this space in a healthy way. So that was a lot of talking. Do you want to do a quick shake? Let's do a quick shake. Shake, 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 shake. All right, so any questions before Jackie comes on and does a little movement practice for us? Okay. All right, Jackie, go ahead.
Hi, darling. So I'm here to talk about moving energy through the body. I know someone's mentioned on the chat about how to play music on Zoom. So there's several ways you can play music on Zoom. There's the way I do it, or the way that someone else has shown me how to do it. So if you have a MacBook or a computer, you can actually play Spotify through the computer at the same time as running your Zoom program, or you can use your iPhone or your phone and put it right next to the computer and just play it through your phone. So that's how I'm going to do it today. I've been told it sounds fine, and you can talk over the music at the same time. You can have the music down low, talk over the music at the beginning, and then turn the music back up again. For me, I always use movement in my circle, specifically at the end of the circle, and specifically when there's been a heavy share. So a bit like Lauren's just taken us through getting up and shaking now. When you've been in a sitting down in an intense emotional state, you've gone around the whole circle and every woman's shared, and there's been some really, really potent sharing. Everybody's energy system is like this. Especially the empaths. Everybody's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with myself. So the first thing you really need to do is to get people to kind of get their arms right out and get the shoulders stretched out. We carry all of this energy kind of in our heart space and in the back of our heart, so arms all the way up, body stretched out, get the neck moving. Get the wrists and the fingers going. And what this does is it kind of releases the energy from the chest, it brings it up through the throat channel, and it actually passes it into the third eye, where they can make, I want to say, cosmic changes in their reality. So anything that's kind of filtering through and kind of getting stuck becomes unity consciousness. And especially as you're opening up the upper chakras. So once you've opened up the upper chakras, you bring the energy from the solar plexus. You can do this by pulling the hands across the solar plexus, emptying out all that powerlessness. And as you're pulling out the powerlessness, you're exactly just as Lauren's doing, rocking the spine. So you begin to rock the spine and open the hips. Bringing the energy down into the legs, shaking the feet out, turning the ankles. And really just opening the system. And if a sister doesn't want to move, doesn't want to get out of a chair, you get a lot of that coming up. Oh, I don't want to dance, don't like to dance, don't like to move. You can just invite her to move in the position that she's sitting in. And what I often find is the whole room will go into a space of oneness within that movement. So I'm just going to put some music on, and I'm going to invite you to stand up if you choose to, and move your body, and make sure that you're opening your heart, opening your neck, opening the solar plexus, opening the hips, and bringing your hands down into the feet. So any way you want to move during the piece of music, and just open your energy system, sister. We've moved a lot today.
I see Laura yawning. That's a good way to release energy.
Yeah, yawning. Yeah, maybe even a bit of sound like get out the tongue, get out the back of the throat here, or just deep breathing and So this song is quite short, but it's quite powerful. Just really tune into the music and let your body guide you on how it wants to move the energy out of the system.
Oh.
Now just bringing yourself back to a seated position, deepening the breathing, placing one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. And just bringing yourself back present to the circle now. May you feel open, relaxed, and free, sister.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
So we can utilize that tool at any point in the sharing or for ourselves. I always like to do a meditation and movement for myself too, just to shake it out. And I know that even talking about trauma can make the body contract. Like even just having an intellectual conversation about this can be like, oh, it's like our body's like, yeah, I've got it. I've got it too. And so that movement is really nice. Thank you, Jackie. I'm so glad you made it. And before we close, are there any more comments, shares, or any kind of question that you might have before I pass it on to Shayna? All right.
Thank you so much for that, Jackie. I feel so much better. Oh, I feel so good. Thank you all for being here today. We just want to let you know that this is an evolution and this is what we do today. And we want to know what you guys need, what you want this to look like, where you want this community to go, what you want to learn. So we're open to that. So please share with us in the Facebook group, email us directly. Both Lauren and I are our names at globalsisterhood.org. So we're happy to have a conversation with you. If there's something that you feel inspired about, or if you feel inspired about teaching or sharing with our community as well. And it's such a potent time for the Global Sisterhood. We really are hitting a stride as an organization, and it feels really good. And you guys are all a part of that. Like this is a movement, this is a collection of all of us, and the work that we are all putting out into the world, we're doing it as a collective. And so ways that we can support you, we want to know that as well. So that's really important to us. And, I really do believe that we all rise together and that we have to go down deep. There's a lot of stuff that we have to pull up as we rise. And so we want to hear from different experiences and different women about what's going on for them as well, things that we can't see.
And also if you want to have a circle that's not topic based, but just like a general let's connect circle, if that feels good too, let us know so we can have space for the facilitators to be held and sharing as well. So we'll probably do a combination of like, let's connect, let's hold each other, let's do some ritual together, and then also let's learn about some cool things.
Mm-hmm. So I so appreciate like you as human beings, your souls, the calling, the mission that you feel inspired to continually putting your energy into, because really this is a choice. You guys are choosing to spend your energy this way. And so it's an honor. So I'm just going to lead us through a closing meditation and just grounding us from this experience we've all had together and wishing you well into your week.
One thing, I know Sarah wanted to share something. Did you get an opportunity to share?
I haven't actually shared, but I don't mind not sharing. It's not vital that I do. I've recovered from my story, so I don't need to. It's just in case it benefited other people. I'd be happy to share in the group though at a later stage.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to hear it about how you healed PTS.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So if everyone could just go ahead and close your eyes. And just imagining this beautiful hilltop that we are all on together. The sky expanding endlessly above, and the beautiful colors of a sunset, deep reds and oranges. You can start to see the stars coming out overhead, the celestial body. And on this hill, we come together. You're seeing all your sisters from around the world, and not just the sisters here, but our physical sisters, our friends, our mothers, the women that we hope this work benefits. And on this hill, we're deeply connected to the earth. We feel deep connection between the sky and our earth mother. And we feel a deep connection with our sisterhood. And we're just inhaling and exhaling together as a group, as a collective. And this activation of our breath, our collective breath, starts to move things in our bodies, starts to transmute energies that feel disconnected, that feel disorganized, into a state of coherence. And so this coherence starts amongst a group of us and ripples out through our hearts and through our bodies, sending messages to each of our cells, a message of truth and light. And we stand together in the truth and light, guided by our hearts and the mission that connects us all. The mission of truly tapping into who we are. I am, the I am of the collective, and the healing that is available to all beings wishing for coherence and love. And so with that, we put our hands on our hearts and we thank our sisterhood and ourselves and our collective for the opportunity to heal and grow and learn together and to come into our wholeness on this path of life. Thank you so much, sisters.
Thank you, everyone. We hope that you have a really beautiful week leading up to the new moon, or 2 weeks leading up to the new moon, and you enjoy this full moon, and that we stay connected. We stay connected and we grow together and we lift each other up. So any questions you have regarding this call or with your circles, anything at all, post in the Facebook group, HerCIRCLE Facebook group, and we'll get to you. All right, loves. Let's unmute you all. Ready? Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye. Thank you.